Victor Pepple. In the next 30 minutes, bring in all the big, analysis, the gray areas where you need clarity. We have Fidel Izutene in the studio for some analysis. Good morning.
Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Lagos.
Very glad to have you join us this morning. Well, we'll get into it. Like I said, interesting stories. I'd like to read from you via our WhatsApp platform. Do send those messages across to us on WhatsApp. It's 0809 4440981. All right. On WhatsApp, 0809 4440981. And on Twitter, it's Smooth981FM. We're streaming live on YouTube, Smooth981FM Lagos. Let's begin with the Punch newspaper. Federal government borrows 2.45 trillion naira from CBN amid fiscal risks. The federal government's total borrowing from the Central Bank of Nigeria through, ways and means advances rose from 17.46 trillion naira in December 2021 to 19.91 trillion naira in June 2022. Now, according to the data from the CBN, it shows that the federal government has borrowed 2.45 trillion naira from the Apex Bank within 6 months. Now, the 19.91 trillion naira owed to the Apex Bank by the federal government is not part of the country's total public debt stock, which stood at 41.60 trillion naira as of March this year, according to the Debt Management Office. Fidel, are we still borrowing monies from the CBN, even while people complain that we've borrowed too much as a country?
I mean, we've Victor, we're borrowing money from the international community. We're borrowing money from our central bank, and I just smile when I remember when I was here last week and we were buying luxury SUVs for other independent countries. But I mean, that's by the way. Anyway, my point is, I don't know. What I mean, let us assume without conceding, the law allows the central bank to borrow the government money, but what are we using this money for, right? Our federal government is borrowing money to spend on recurring expenditure. It's not on innovation, it's not on infrastructure, it's because the government is broke to carry out its administration. And the sense in it is, I mean, there's the ways and means scheme whereby the CBN is allowed to borrow money and the government should pay as soon as possible. I'm wondering at what point this administration, which is supposed to come to an end somewhere in I think May 2023,
Right.
how they do plan to pay back when we have so much expenses we're making, and we're still funding these expenses through money we're getting from other places. And the scary part is this, Victor. We are still not exporting. We are still depending on crude oil. We are still, I mean, I as an aside again, I saw where we were building this gas pipeline to head to Europe. When is that going to finish? We're still spending money on running an expensive government we cannot pay for. I mean, I worry. The CBN is carrying too much from agriculture to trying to ensure that they keep the FX that we have within the country. The CBN is stretched, and I don't know. I really don't see the sense in it. But the truth is, if you're borrowing money to take care of recurring expenditure, it means next year we're going to borrow again.
All right, and we'll try as much as possible to, stay on this topic. Well, you listening now, I would like to find out from you, are we borrowing too much? Let us know. Is the government borrowing too much already? In fact, before now, we had borrowed over 19 trillion naira from the CBN. We've taken an extra 2.45 trillion naira between January and June this year. I'd like to read from you with regards to our borrowing, and perhaps you have clarity to this. Let us know. Let's keep it going, Fidel. Alleged 109 billion naira fraud. Suspended Accountant General Idris. 3 others seek plea bargain, says the EFCC.
I mean, so little background. A plea bargain is used in a criminal, a criminal case whereby the accused person who is most likely being accused of maybe misappropriation of funds or maybe amassing some sort of wealth through ill-gotten means. Now, the prosecutor approaches them, or they approach the prosecutor and say that, okay, we're willing to return X amount of money. The prosecutor and the accused person's attorney or the defense counsel approaches the court, and the court is okay with it. And in exchange, they might get a lighter sentence, but they might get some sort of, they might not have to go to jail, or maybe or some sort of, maybe you're going to give out some names or give out accounts or do some sort of things to, compensate for time, jail time. In this case, now, the plea and our laws, for the record, our laws allow for it. Okay, our laws allow for it, but in this case, it's not yet cast in stone. I mean, it seems there's a plea bargain in place. The accountant, and let's not forget that the accountant general who is being arraigned in this case is arraigned with some other people, such as his orderly. I forget his name now. The question is, who is the plea bargain for? Is it for all of them, or is it just for the accountant general? The story goes to say that some of the counsel to I think the second defendant and the third defendant are complaining that they're not being carried along. So I think this is a developing story. We just need to watch and see how the prosecutor is going to handle it, and how much they're willing to return. And the truth is, it's worrisome. I won't lie to you, Victor. When people see these kind of things, and I'll tell you why. In other countries, we see plea bargains with maybe, like, for example, a drug cartel, where you see someone who's arrested for money laundering, and then he's saying, okay, I'm going to return this amount of money, and then I'm going to say, okay, this is how the network works, and you get a reduced sentence. But in this case, when public officials are being given this plea bargain, I don't like it, because what it says is, if you steal enough and you return enough, and you get to keep some.
So, to make sense of this, the Accountant General of the Federation, the allegations that 109 billion naira were carted away. I mean, he's emerged in a 109 billion naira fraud, and his lawyers are deciding a plea bargain, or arranging a plea bargain with the EFCC, whereby, if I mean, a certain amount will be returned, perhaps to the Nigerian government, and he keeps a certain amount and works freely. He won't have to serve a time in jail.
Victor, like I said, we don't know the exact
should this plea bargain come through, he won't have to spend any amount of days in jail.
So, like I said, sometimes you might get to go scot-free. Sometimes you might get a reduced sentence.
Let's talk a bit about the 2 ex-governors who were released, I mean, within the week. Some people have complained as to, one, the slow judicial process that we have in the country with regards to conviction, and finally, when they are convicted, depending on how highly placed you are in society, you can again bargain your way out of it. I mean, former governor of Abia State was arraigned and was in jail. We saw what happened. I think that case was struck out, and he was taken out of Kuje prison. He's still a serving senator today. 2 former governors, Nyame and Dariye, were granted pardon by Mr. President. Yet there are reports that over 40,000 Nigerians are awaiting trial, and sometimes this awaiting trial runs into years. They stay awaiting trial for more than 4 years sometimes. But if you're able to arrange a proper bargain, then you go scot-free after taking billions of Nigerians' funds.
I mean, Victor, this takes me back to the old saying: all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, right? Let's not pretend, right? In these kind of situations, these kind of gentlemen will get some preferential treatment. Okay. Now, in the case of the 2 former governors, they were actually convicted, right? And they were given a pardon. Now, in a pardon and a plea bargain are totally different.
Yeah, I do know that.
Sessions. Well, for the purpose of, why do these guys get this kind of treatment and why do some other people get it? I mean, Victor, life is not fair. I myself cannot explain that, to be honest with you.
Okay, let's keep it going. From Daily Post now. Produce soldiers who murdered Inspector Rukwe and return rifles. Lagos police to the army. Now, I want to give you a background to this story. Apparently, the Lagos State Police Command has asked the Nigerian army here in Lagos to produce soldiers who tortured Inspector Monday Urukwe to death. Now, the command made the demands on Wednesday in reaction to Major General Umar Musa's comments regarding last week's confrontation. Now, along the Lagos Badagry Expressway, the police officers were stopping vehicles and they were trying to make way for a truck owned by CCECC to, just move. Apparently, soldiers were on the road at that time and were angry. In fact, there was an exchange between the police and the soldiers. And a particular policeman, according to the police command in Lagos, shot into the air. But the army claims that he shot at a military officer, and then these officers swung into action, beat up police officers, took them, in fact, into their army barracks, beat more. I'm trying to make sense of this story. Here in Lagos, it happened here in Lagos.
Victor, I mean, the storyline is interesting, and I'm not so surprised. I mean, the truth is, sometimes we as Nigerians, especially Lagosians, we find this kind of stories fascinating, and I'll tell you why. It's like, oh, so the Nigerian police gets to oppress, innocent bystanders, and in these cases, like, okay, now pick on somebody your own size, and then the soldiers start to when we see soldiers start to oppress policemen, we get excited. It's not the best approach to these kind of situations, but it does happen in reality. The truth is, the Nigerian police does put unnecessary roadblocks on our highways. The Nigerian army does the same thing. Now it's now a battle of who has more power, and then we see the situations where soldiers abduct policemen, take them to their barracks and drill them or do whatever they want to do. Probably even, keep them under some sort of arrest.
Isn't this embarrassing that the soldiers would beat up the policemen on the road, in fact, take them back to the Ojo cantonment, beat them up, seize their rifles, release two of them? I hear, in fact, one police officer died in the process, which is why there's an exchange between the Lagos State Police Command and the Nigerian military here in Lagos.
The Nigerian police force is asking the army to bring out
the firearms,
the firearms, as well as the culprits, right? It's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking. All, and let me not say all. A lot of times when the Nigerian police force or police officers have innocently killed so-called suspects, because you can't even call them accused persons, suspects that they're dealing with. How many of those policemen has the Nigerian police by itself brought out to say, this person, we're going to discipline this person? Fine. The only time when we see it is maybe when there's a video recording of a police officer harassing an innocent bystander, and this is in recent times. So I would say, if you want to come to equity, come with clean hands. The Nigerian police is guilty of doing the same thing that they're asking the Nigerian army to do. It's not right. What the Nigerian army did, or what these soldiers did, is not correct. It's not the right thing to do. But in our climb, Victor, two of them do it. Two of them do it.
All right, let's take it over to your comments on WhatsApp. Gilbert Musa in Festac. On Nigeria's borrowing from outside and within the country, let's ask ourselves what government policy is on local production and citizens' domestic purchases. From 1999 to 2007, do Nigerians buy what they produce? Tonye is in. I think it is tragic that the suspended Age Idris should even be considered for a plea bargain. This man is under suspicion for 109 billion naira fraud. Not 1 billion naira, not 9 billion naira, not 10, not 19, not even 100, but 109 billion naira. Guys, we're just clowning ourselves if this is even on the table. The country, in a country of over 200 plus million, we're borrowing to survive, for Christ's sake. Please, can you show us what the federal government is borrowing for? Recurrent expenditure? I do not think you're correct. How long do you think it takes to construct cross-national pipelines. Are we borrowing too much? No. Financial institutions or nations will continually borrow you money if you have collateral. It's business because their interest. Abayomi sent that in. He says, pardon isn't granted by a president. Let's not misinform. It's done by Council of State. That includes former presidents, governors, chief justices, and so on. Thank you, Abayomi.
No, but at that level, I mean, we're talking about governance here. So pardons are granted at different levels, but at the levels of the state governor, in context of the state governors, the pardon was granted by the president of the federal republic. If it's a crime under the state governor can grant a pardon.
All right. We have this one from Idima Puza in Surulere. In Nigeria, the more billions you steal, the less punishment you might receive from the federal government, while the less you steal, the more punishment you receive from judges in court. That's how it flows in Nigeria. May God help us.
Victor, let's not be emotional, right? I mean, we do know that this man has stolen a lot of money, fine, 100 and something billion naira, but let's be factual. That money wasn't spent by him alone. If the plea bargain involves him bringing out corporates or people he shared the money with, to be honest, I think it's worth exploring.
Worth exploring, they return the money and then just walk away.
No, Victor, like I said, if this money, if what can be returned is substantial, and then people who he stole this money with, or people he shared this money, or people who were his accomplice, if we can pull out these people, because if you shut him out, another person is going to come there. It's a hydra-headed monster. If you shut him out and put him in behind bars, that money is still going to be in circulation. Some people are going to be benefiting from it.
All right, let's take a break. Where we do come back, more of your messages here on Smooth 98.1.
And you're listening to the Smooth Breakfast Show.
It has its pros and cons, right? Because let's be honest, 100 and something billion. You think he's the only one that eats that money? You think he's the only one that eats that money? He's not the only one now.
Of course.
He's not the only one that eats that money.
As I was quickly hearing about the plea bargain, at the end of the day, nothing will be done. Should we talk about the UTME?
Yeah, but I just hope you can get the Tinubu story in.
Okay.
The way he carries the matter
Tinubu,
we can skip UTME now.
It's more than just his day job.
Can we?
But that's why Daily is my person, because he's
So
invested
how many
in
more can we do?
tomorrow.
At ARM, we want to help you achieve your goals, because when you succeed, we succeed.
Nigeria
Visit
facing existential threats. Can we do that or skip it?
ARM, invested
Okay.
in your
I mean, it ties into
tomorrow.
the second story.
The Smooth Breakfast Show. The best of everything in the morning and more.
So do we do the UTME one?
Okay, fine. UTME and UTME, the Tinubu story, and then the World Bank story.
Okay, so we'll just take it in that order. Welcome back. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Keep sending those messages in. We're live on YouTube, Smooth 981 FM. On Twitter, send a message or send a tweet to us. We'll take it, Smooth 981 FM. And on WhatsApp, it's 0809 4440981. Sarah 2 in Owode Diroko is saying our debts are going into trillions. If the federal government is not called to order, we might go into quadrillions. May God save us. Joseph Mehi. When you employ incompetent personnel from top to bottom, what results are you expecting? Definitely bankruptcy. The government is busy squeezing the citizens with all kinds of taxes, charges, and everything for the masses, yet the lawmakers still have surplus and bogus take-home pay without any intention to reduce their pay in adjustments to the economic situation, I believe. God bless Nigeria. Thank you, Joseph, for your message. One more and we go back to the messages. For Nigeria, borrowing wouldn't have been a serious issue, but when a central government is populated by officials who know little or nothing about their job title, Westage assumes center stage because there's little or no supervision due to the inherent nepotistic mindset of the prime handler. The end result on the economy is total disaster. Tony Nikeja sent that message in. But let's look at this story from the Vanguard. UTME screening, varsities orders to make 3.3 billion naira from candidates.
Wow. 3.3 billion naira is what our Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board is set to make. And I just don't know, or I want to know how the sharing formula is with this, because this is some profit. I mean, just 2,000 naira. Candidates are supposed to pay 2,000 naira, I think, for the tests and all that. Even though the universities or the colleges will still conduct their own tests, or in some cases, the story goes to say that some just look at your credentials, or maybe how well you did in WAEC or GCE or whatnot. What really is fascinating for me is the top schools that are most sought after, according to the UTME. But it's also interesting that they are able to put out these statistics. Leading the pack is the University of Ilorin, with over 97,000 applicants, and then the University of Lagos with 75,000 applicants, and then Nnamdi Azikiwe University with over 58,000 applicants, and then Ado Bayero University in Kano with over 57,000 applicants. The list goes on and on. We have, I think, Ekiti Obafemi Awolowo University with 51,000, University of Nigeria with 51,000 over 51,000 as well, and Ahmadu Bello with over 50,000. These numbers go to show that Nigerians are indeed, willing or are thirsty for education. My worry is what awaits these guys when they get into the schools. I mean, look at what's going on with ASU and the rest. I hope the UTME I hope the federal government, because I mean, it's still controlled by the federal government. I hope the federal government is making sure that these funds get to the universities, because if this university is going to take in this amount of people, they need infrastructure to be able to handle the students, from hostels to laboratory apparatus to computers. I just hope the universities are also compensated to ensure that our universities are able to match, even if not the world, at least match their counterparts in Africa.
All right. Because of time, let's look at this one from The Punch. It ties to an earlier story we've taken. Nigeria facing existential threat, World Bank warns. Now, in light of Nigeria's dwindling revenue, the continued payment of trillions of naira on fuel subsidy by the government, and attendant economic challenges, the World Bank on Wednesday raised the alarm that the country might be facing an existential threat.
I mean, we don't need a soothsayer to tell us that the Nigerian economy is shrinking, right? I mean, I dare say, apart from Lagos, Abuja, and maybe Port Harcourt and Kano, the economic activities in most states in Nigeria are shrinking. And if you take out crude oil, I like I said earlier, Victor, we are not exporting. We are not exporting, and also we're not consuming what we produce. Okay, and if we keep relying on oil, or if we keep relying on petrol, our economy cannot grow. And there's nothing new here. There's nothing new here, Victor. There's nothing new here.
All right, let's take this last one before we go. Your supporters are defaming me. Tinubu tells Peter Obi. The Daily Trust has that report for you.
I mean,
quick reaction.
It's fascinating, and I'd say this because I like the fact that Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or his camp, starts to see that. I mean, I think there was a time when, or there was a clip I watched where he kind of said something sort of condescending, like he doesn't see Peter Obi as a match, right? We've got to that stage in Nigeria where we don't have to choose between the lesser evil. Okay, we can actually pick the best candidate, and I after seeing what happened in Osun State, I'm very confident that in 2023, if INEC can at least do the bare minimum, we can have elections where Nigerians can actually vote for somebody they want, right? If we look at the story, right, I haven't seen that post being referred to in by the Tinubu camp. I haven't seen that post. I don't know. I mean, when I first read the headline, I was thinking maybe they were referring to Twitter posts or so this happens to be some post they claim was on Facebook, and the claim was by a the excuse me if I look for the URL. World News, because it's not spelled as world, it's spelled as WORLSNEWS dot space. Okay, it doesn't look credible, but according to the Tinubu camp, supporters of Peter Obi carried this message, being the statement made by the president of Ghana saying that Tinubu should leave this race and go and just take care of his health while he allows people like Peter Obi.
How can we also control supporters of some of these political candidates on social media?
So it's very simple, right? Victor, supporters cannot expressly be controlled all the time, right? These are people with their own personal emotions, and especially when you look at Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians are frustrated and hungry for good governance. I believe in most cases, maybe the Labour Party camp or Peter Obi's camp can go out to say oftentimes and just caution people. But Victor, if you look very carefully, most of the people who are supporters of Peter Obi aren't necessarily, would I say, Labour Party members. Let's not even talk about card carrying members now. They're not even remotely associated with the Labour Party. I just hope that Nigerians can now understand that the story we used to hear back then is not true. Our votes do count. Your votes count.
Ugo Nwosu on Twitter at the handle Ugo Ito1 is saying plea bargain actually involves agreeing to your crime, naming your accomplices, and paying restitution. Paying all the money stolen back to the government and spend some time in prison. That's how it's supposed to work. Benito on WhatsApp, how can you, the Chief of Defense Staff, show us people whom the terrorists stayed in their homes in transit in a war attack, and also a terrorist that escaped prison 1 month after the attack in a war? Military is highly compromised in these Nigerian government shenanigans. As Great Fella said, government magic in play as usual. You pay tax, government loot. Governments borrow foreign fund, they loot. You pay fine, government loot. Government officials loot. They get plea bargain and release them from prison after 2 years. Yet you're democratizing corruption, not fighting it. BB sent that one. Austin is in. Borrowing galore by the APC government. Simply they borrow for their hidden agenda. The North has plans for themselves in this country. That's your opinion. Fabian, I do hope the EFCC will use the official as an example of a true fight for corruption, getting others involved and getting all the funds, and not just allow him to go with the plea bargain. Thank you so much. Live from Festac. Why would the police fire gun while challenging the army? Sometimes our police overdo. Tajuddin, is that plea bargain man not the same person that was complaining ASU is asking for too much? Can they just send him to Kuje for keeping our students at home for this long? Davis in Ikoyi, on the AGF, if the plea bargain will reduce his sentence from 40 years to 20, should he reveal where he kept some money? Okay, not from 20 to free. He should pay for the crime. Yomi is in again. IMF said same, but we grew faster than they postulated. World Bank should let us be. Ken has a message for us. Nigeria has moved from one who cannot cook to one who has nothing to cook. And last message we can take before we go. Supporters defamation claim. This is politics. Let everyone, especially candidates, focus on improving himself or herself. Prove what you can do and let the voters decide. That's about it. Thank you very much for all your messages. We have to go. We'll do this again tomorrow at 7:30. But thank you very much, Fidel, for graciously being in the studio with analysis for us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Victor.
It's Izutene on
Twitter and Instagram.
Thank you. We'll bring you Grapevine at 8:15 this morning. Good morning.
And invest.